Good morning, authors and all our readers and fans. This is Reagan Rohde, owner of Black Rose Writing, ready to get another session of Black Rose Writing Live underway. The main topics this time around are going to be recapping Texas Frightmare Weekend, talking a little bit about the Book Expo again, and then also going over just some different marketing strategies, maybe some things that some authors have forgotten to try, or maybe a little different angles of things for authors to try, and what's been working, and what some of our best books are right now. We can go over that, and then if authors have any questions, that feel free to start typing questions in the chat bar now, and we'll get to those questions. So good morning again. We've got followers coming in and typing in the chat now. So first thing, while everyone's getting in and we're getting questions together, we just went to Dallas and for the Texas Frightmare Weekend 2019, and we had a really good time, and we did very well. We sold all of our copies except for about a handful, was all that we had left after the end of Sunday. We had authors C. Derek Miller, C.S. Humble, Lee Jordan, and myself all citing different variation of horror books. And we also had a few other horror books that we thought might do well. John Hunt's Dollhouse and The Tracker, and it did do very well. And Johnny Thurston's Straight Men also was a fan favorite during the event. We got to see and meet a lot of people. We got some possible horror film connections. We've also been invited to some other horror events, and just all in all, really good weekend in terms of the buying power of the Frightmare fans and horror readers. And we also accumulated quite a bit of good emails for our Rosevine newsletter. All readers, mostly obviously in the horror suspense genre. So Texas Frightmare Weekend's good. Again, this kind of goes into what we're going to talk about in regards to the marketing strategies, because Texas Frightmare Weekend isn't, it's a horror convention, but it's not necessarily a literary or book festival. And so, there were probably, I know Half Price Books had a kind of horror driven booth with obviously name brand authors and books like Stephen King and those. And then there were one or two maybe other horror authors, but the rest of the tables are completely something different than books. And so these opportunities, I feel, always seem to be a little better in terms of being able to sell and market books, because you are not in direct competition with every vendor. It's not like going to the Miami Book Fair International, where there's thousands of books and vendors all trying to sell books. You're just maybe one of a handful or less of actually literary vendors and signing authors. So you kind of stand out a little bit more, and that can always be a good thing. So our Bruce Logan has a question talking about book events planned for the West Coast in 2019 and 2020 in Canada. Bruce, what we're doing right now a little bit more is we found it's been a lot better pitching our authors and trying to submit titles for acceptance for book festivals such as the LA Times or Bay Area versus having a booth. In the past, we've had, I think one year we had 8 to 12 Black Rose Writing booths across the United States, and it's usually just you lose money at the event. It's good exposure for the authors, but just the amount of work it goes in shipping books, getting authors there, the organizing and everything. Unless we're going to have staff like myself or Christopher Miller at the event, it can be it's just not the best opportunity. But if we can get authors accepted, to sign it at events and book festivals, that's always a better route because they're able to sign like in the indie author tent or like a Barnes and Noble press tent, and so that can be a really good opportunity. The next question is from David Odles. Is there a reference or method that provides a calendar of upcoming events like this? There is. We have a festival schedule PDF that we can send you. There's also, if you search for, there's a everfest.com always has a good list of book festivals. Let me see, I'll post this link in here. But there's a few sources you can search for that have all the events and festivals that are upcoming and their requirements. Joan Donaldson's asking, taking books to Southern Festival Books. We've had a booth there a few times. And again, this is another event that if any author's serious in wanting to sign at any event, they should just contact Christopher Miller, PR@blackrosewriting.com. Let him know which event. If you can do a little footwork in terms of, what it requires to submit your book for possible selection, that's always helpful. But we'll do our best to get your book, get you submitted, and that way the festival committee can review it, and hopefully we can, going forward, we've got so many good books and award-winning books that we should start seeing authors being selected to be featured and signed at these events. Muriel Pritchett is asking about promoting Book Expo 2020 so authors can make plans. We've been talking about Book Expo 2019 for same as we'll do with 2020 for about a year now. Again, from a marketing and selling standpoint, I don't think Book Expo is your best way to spend your publicity budget, best way to spend your time and money. From an educational, research, and just overall experience, it's definitely well worth it. I will be there Friday on, let me confirm that date, but Friday on May 31st. I will be at the Book Expo from approximately when it opens around 9 a.m. I think until about 12 or 1 p.m. So if any authors are going to be there and that fits their schedule, I'd be happy to meet or say hi, but I will be pretty time crunched in terms of trying to take the whole expo in during that window. Joseph Carabas asks, how about if a group of local authors want to buy a table at a local con? Joseph, that's something we very much encourage, quite a bit, in terms of that's what the Black Rose Writing Facebook author group can be very, very helpful with, reaching out to other authors, seeing if authors want to share costs. I always recommend 2 to 3 authors is a really good number. That way, you can kind of take breaks. You can rotate, and it's not overwhelming. Once you get above that number, it kind of becomes a little more less exclusive, a little more competitive amongst the authors. Where 2 to 3 is really is a good number, and that is something that if there's just an author table, sharing it with another author can be really good. So let's move on to some of the marketing strategies that kind of just going over some different ideas that aren't necessarily going to cost you any money. Just things you might not have talked about. I've got our checklist here for publicity, and I was just going to go through it again. And that way, if we have any questions on it, or anything else, we can go over that. So yeah, so we I think we cover in our pre-release kit press kit. We're going to send out, the sooner we get books approved and up for pre-order, that's going to allow our PR team to send out digital review copies to different media and national reviewers and newspapers, and so that's pretty well covered. What we're kind to look into is a little more specific to what your book is. Trying to get into maybe local venues or specialty stores that aren't necessarily bookstores, but might have a little niche market, coffee shops, you know, local, small, maybe not, maybe an indie or non-chain type of grocery store, deli, even in getting announced in church bulletins, uh, being associated with that, antique stores, things around, things that you'd find in small towns, downtown area. Those are all can be really fun venues to have your book, really good venues to do signings at, where again you're going to stand out and you're not going to be in direct competition um, so much as a big major book festival. Um, so some of the other things too we wanted to talk about is the social media again. Um, we're still trying to get our authors uh, to follow a little bit better formula. Um, just posting buy my book and posting about your book is not going to help you sell books at all. You're going to alienate your audience. You're going to create basically anybody who follows you is either going to unfollow or they're just not going to read your content because it's not relevant. No one cares that you're trying to sell your book for the 7th day in a row and you've posted 5 times a day the same cover of your book. Um, you really want to, it's all about trust. You want to follow other authors, you want to engage in conversation, and you want it all to be sincere and legitimate, and develop a trust with your followers. In a perfect, just absolutely perfect scenario of launch, say your book releases on October 1st, and we are, currently in May, and you've interacted, you've got this social media following, maybe you share a teaser of your book, maybe you ask them to help you pick which is your favorite cover design, maybe you ask them to take a poll, or help you out with something, and if they do, there's a chance they can win that one of your characters are named after them. Uh, Maybe you go and leave reviews for fellow authors who follow you, and vice versa. Leave reviews for their book or give them feedback, and interact. Anytime if you're in an author group or writer group on Facebook, interacting in the group, helping other people out. Posting blog content, posting just relevant, humor, anything that uh, legitimate interaction where you're going to develop a trust. And that's something that you should be doing all the way until your book is available for pre-order, until release date. And then that's kind of the only time, in my opinion, that you should post a hint, or a suggestive post about buying your book. It's not, hey, this is my book, buy your copy now. It's more of a, I appreciate all of you. My book is, now up for pre-order. If anyone is interested, here's a promo code or here's the link, and something along those lines. But if you're posting more than one time a week about someone buying your book, you're posting way too much and on that topic, and in your posts are becoming watered down and they're becoming irrelevant. And people don't want to read that. Just think about what you read on Facebook and Twitter, and think about the people who post stuff that you constantly just ignore or don't really care about. And that's kind of the best way to determine, what you should be posting. Anything but your book is always best, and developing the trust and then steering readers, back towards your book. So moving on from social media to some in-person opportunities. And we had a recent Facebook post. One of our authors talked about how much should I charge for a speaking engagement. And so some of our authors have already kind of interacted with that. But in terms of, author talks and programs, things like that, these can also be really, really good opportunities. And you don't necessarily have to charge. You can try to ask them if you can do maybe a reading or a book signing after you talk, or anything along those lines, if you're not comfortable trying to charge somebody a fee, because you feel like they might be doing you a favor as well. But any schools, the school you maybe graduated from, schools you've attended, local schools, daycare centers, obviously for children's book, libraries, sporting goods stores, baby stores, grocery stores, associations, organization meetings, and then book clubs or chambers, any type of local club. These are really good opportunities to it's so simple to just reach out to whoever is running that locally and let them know a little bit about you and say, you'd be really happy to come speak about, not so much your book, unless it kind of fits in. If you wrote a sports book and, you're trying to talk about a, club that talks about sports, that could be probably an exciting topic. But a lot of times I think the most people are interested in how you got published, the steps you took along the way, writing in general, and then that kind of leads you to be able to talk a little bit about your actual book. So that can be another good opportunity. And a lot of some of this can even be done, like as we're doing now, remotely. It doesn't necessarily have to always be local. You can do it via the internet, and do interviews and stuff via Skype and things along those lines as well. So yeah, I'm checking to make sure I haven't missed any questions here. Bruce Logan is asking about where one can find authors in one region. We don't necessarily have anything, Bruce, that's just says, here are authors in the states they're in. But I think being in the Black Rose Facebook group, and posting in there, just letting authors know, hey, I live in this area, have any authors done any events, at any bookstores within my proximity or anything along those lines. I think that can be helpful. Jamie's adding in that there is a document in the Facebook group that authors have actually filled out their locations and some of their social media handles and links and things along those lines. So I've pretty much covered what, kind of what we wanted to get to in terms of just some of the reminders on the marketing strategies that aren't always, some authors just don't think about it, or you kind of forget over time. There's so many different tactics. So we'll move on to, wanted to go over, we've really had a good run here lately on getting some titles selected for Bookbub. So that's really good. That makes us not only feel that our books and our authors and the quality of them are getting better. It also obviously leads to a bigger presence for Black Rose Writing and our authors. I think we've gotten more books selected for Bookbub this year already in May than we probably did in all of 2018. So again, it speaks volumes to the quality of the material, to the award-winning, to the best-selling factors, and all of these things. We've added to our website. We've got the bestseller list, we've got the award winner list, and that's something we'll keep updating and keep rolling along with. It's really nice to be able to help those books stand out even more. Next question, Steve's asking about any more award contests. So the Maxi Awards just released, and we should give a big shout out. Our authors did very well, and Joe Barrett, the author of Managed Care, won the Book of the Year for 2019, and hopefully his book does as well as their 2018 winner, which is still one of our best-selling titles on a day-to-day basis, Five Wishes of Mr. Murray McBride by Joe Seipel. So congrats to Joe Barrett again. So that was a great honor for authors as well. But other book contests, I just posted a link, or actually, I'm fibbing to you. We've got a link to be scheduled in the Facebook group for the IBPA Benjamin Franklin Awards, which seems to continue to be a very good indie author award, and the prestige and honor from winning that seems to can carry some good weight, and they do a good job of announcing and promoting the titles that win. So that would be right there with Maxi Awards in terms of my recommendations, and then also Mom's Choice for children's or maybe middle grade books, and then there's some other ones, Eric Hoffer Book Awards. So it just kind of varies down the list. Rana is asking, how do we get selected for Bookbub? So there's nothing an author needs to do. Black Rose Writing is constantly updating your metadata, trying to make your book, obviously the more reviews, the more awards, the more key reviews are going to help. But again, it's never a guarantee. We've submitted one of our best-selling titles, Battle Hymn, we had submitted for Bookbub, I want to say 50 to 100 times. I mean, that would be my guess for multiple years now, and we have not been selected. What the Valley Knows by Heather Christie, another great award-winning young adult title, has never been selected. But we will keep on submitting, and that's something, it's just kind of you just have to keep your fingers crossed. We're going to submit your titles. You can submit every month, and we're going to keep submitting your titles. Nothing that you need to do. That's part of what, one of the things that we do for our authors on a monthly basis. Next question, Kristen Sherry's asking, yes, that's a good question. Indy Reader also has an award. If you can enter their awards, or you can get a professional review and enter their rewards. Sometimes they have promos going, but it's called the Discovery Award, and they should contact either Black Rose Writing or our authors, with winners or updates on that. I'll try to follow up with them. I'm not sure when the announcement is, but that's probably another good reward. So Joseph is asking what specific, award programs. It just depends, Joseph. We do select titles. If we're going to submit one of your books for a specific award, you'll know immediately. But we do submit some of our titles for awards throughout the year. I know we submitted Craig. One of the ones we just submitted was Craig Shanery's horror book, and that won a runner-up award. And so it's just something we would make you aware of for Bookbub and marketing programs. We're already submitting those as well. Okay, next question is Jamie Beth is asking, how does a book become 99 cents on Kindle? So the promos is part of our cooperative marketing, where we can run your book can be in Kindle KDP Select, and we can run a promo for your book to ebook to either be free or be a Kindle Countdown deal at 99 cents. Now, just making your book 99 cents for a day isn't necessarily a good strategy. It's kind of a wasted strategy, but combining that with our cooperative marketing, where we're going to partner with ebook promotion sites, and then also hit up as many of the free sites that we can, and provide info for authors on those. That's the best way for doing like a Kindle Countdown 99 cent promo, or having your book free. And if we submit to Bookbub and it gets selected, then obviously we'll handle what needs to be done in terms of that promotion date. I know recently we had, so Managed Care was featured as an e-reader news today book of the day for 99 cents last Thursday. I believe it sold like 170 copies on that day. Friday we had Follow Me Down was a international BookBub for 99 cents, and it sold I think 70 to 100 copies that day. And then Camp Strange was featured as a free middle grade book on BookBub on Saturday, so we had a good weekend. And then tomorrow, Louisa Cloutier's Until Forever will be 99 cents and be an e-reader news book of the day. And so the book of the days are another thing that we submit. If selected, a lot of times, we'll cover all that, and it's just a matter of being selected. I think we had 3 selected this quarter, and they send it to us every quarter. So there is C.S. Humble, who is a new good friend of mine. We got to sit in the booth on Saturday and sell some copies of The Massacre at Yellow Hill. I hope you had a good weekend, and obviously you made it home back to Houston. So let's see if I missed any questions, please retype them, and we'll go from there. But yeah, so this month, one of the things we're still working really hard on is fine-tuning our Amazon ads to make money for Black Rose Writing across the board. Some author books we've got really doing well. Others, it's hard to get a good balance. But we're continuing to test and get better at that, and be able to optimize them to where hopefully the majority of the books running on Amazon ads are actually getting good results. I know we just got Fluffy's Revolution by Ted Myers, just got launched with a custom creative and a Facebook ad, and it's been doing very well on the Facebook ad, and it's also as a BookBub ad as well, getting a lot of clicks, selling some copies. So that's the main thing. Obviously, when you start selling some books, you're going to start significantly jumping up in your Kindle or wherever your platforms are, Amazon, Google Play, Apple. You're going to jump up quickly. So one of the other things we just recently partnered with a company called Starry, and their app is Dream with an E, and they are going to promote and market some of our ebooks internationally. Now, if you're in KDP Select on Amazon, you weren't eligible. It's not a negative. It's just basically they wanted to do a test run, and we sent them 35 books, titles that they're going to market over the next year in ebook format. And these titles have to be available on all platforms. So we'll keep authors any author who's in that, we'll keep them in the loop if we sell some more books that way. But it's another good opportunity. We'll also be getting a audiobook royalty update from Beacon Audio this month, which is very exciting because I believe our last update is several months, and so our last update came in almost May of 2018 is the last reporting. So we've got a long way of reporting still, and we've got some really, really good titles that have been selling really well on Kindle and print. All right, can anybody hear me? I think I lost audio here for a second. Just trying to make sure. Let's see. Okay, still good. So the audiobook report's going to be really good to get this month and see if our audio sales have, we've increased every time. We've gotten a new report from Beacon, and hopefully we get another good boost and that's obviously more revenue for our authors. So I will go ahead and wait for any more questions. If any authors have any specific questions, we can go over that. But in terms of just what we kind of wanted to cover today, I've covered it 100%. So I'm not sure how many authors are aware, but I do have my family and I do have some cattle where we live, and I was out this morning actually feeding a young bull calf that's having trouble getting milk, and so I got off to a little bit of a hectic start as we're trying to keep that little fella alive. So there's a little personal tidbit into what I had to do before we got to go live today. So Joseph Karabas, no, not at all. That's not. We are a traditional / indie press, and there's no self involved. Self means that you publish your book by yourself, and that's not the case. Harry P92 wants to know, do all Black Rose Writing books become audiobooks? At this point, we've continued to grow on that stage. We are still around the probably 50 to 70% of all of our titles are getting pitched and selected for audiobooks, but not every book. We just don't have the amount of narrators yet to get every book in audio format. So yeah, not more beef, not so much dairy, more beef. Charlet is the brand of cows, and they're along, they're bred for beef, and yeah, little feller's not getting enough milk right now, and so trying to keep him alive. Okay, sorry. Joseph's question is, does Black Rose Writing consider publishing a book that's been self-pub? So if your book has been self-published and you want to re-release it through a publisher, Black Rose Writing will consider that book. However, you're kind of going in already with a little bit of a, you're already below the curve a little bit in terms of, it just really depends on the quality of the reviews, and if we think that there's still going to be more market, and that we can reach sellers beyond what an author has already done in terms of self-publishing it. So we'll consider it. It's a little harder to get your foot in the door with a book that's already been published, but definitely something we can consider. Tom Blanton is asking, how important is Facebook? It depends on, again, what we kind of went over with social media. If you're using Facebook and interacting and creating a trust, and you've got followers and friends, and you're a presence on there, it is extremely important and can be extremely beneficial. If you're just going on there and you're not using it for anything but posting a picture of your book cover with a link to buy your book, like, here's my new review, buy my book, here's the price, it's not going to help you very much. That's not going to convert to sales, normally. Steve got a great question. You talked about the importance of having multiple titles for building your career. Would that be 2 to 3 books or 10? Yeah, definitely 2 to 3 to start, and then as you get to 10, hopefully at that stage, we've developed a really strong, following, and you have some, what I like to call almost automatic sales, where it's like, hey, when you release a book, you've got people that are ready for it. They're going to buy that book because they know you as an author, and they want to read your next project. So I think of it as, any author who does one book and considers it a failure, or considers it like, hey, I'm not a best-selling author, my book didn't do well, it's not really giving yourself or the industry a good shake. I mean, think of a, think about the authors you read, and think of how many books you've read this year from authors that have written one book and it was their first book, and if it's a best-selling book, and that's probably very, very rare. Most of the authors, just think about it. Most of the authors you've read are probably established. They've probably got 5 to 10 titles, and it's taken a while to get to where they are. Jamie Beth is asking on most of our contracts have a 2-year timeline. Interested in submitting a sequel, how soon you need it? Obviously anytime, typically I like authors to submit a follow-up project 1 or 2 months after their first book's been released. That way you've got all the attention there, and then, we can start scheduling. If we decide to move forward on the second book, we can get it under contract. We can start scheduling it, based on that, and it gives us an idea, both parties, on what we've already, how we've already interacted, and it makes this, I think a lot of our repeat authors will share the same thing and agree with me in terms of it. It really, the process gets smoother. You kind of know what to expect from both ends, and it can be really neat, and you can do things better than you did the first time. Next question from Pamela is, what are your thoughts on trailers on YouTube? I personally am still not a fan of book trailers, and I'll tell you why. Because I've never seen a book trailer and bought a book, and I don't know if any of our book trailers have ever sold a book. So this is just that. I'm not saying they're not good, but I think a mediocre average book trailer will probably do more damage for your book than help it. I've seen a lot of them that were, maybe the author did it or low budget, and it just really, it kind of made the book feel less of value than what it should have. And so I think if it's done to an epic standard, and something that's really engaging and more like a short film with hints and talking about the book, that's probably the way to go. But just to do one is not something that I would recommend. I do like Rana talking about, she said she did a 90-second read aloud, got good feedback. Something like that, maybe reading from your book, or talking about, maybe even stirring up a political or, maybe a hot media topic that fits along with your book. Like if your book's about anti-bullying or, something along those lines, that might be good, more of the podcast, or, just a discussion than just a generic, like a picture of your book with some words on the page. It looks like you made it in PowerPoint in like 20 minutes. Those are not my favorite. I don't recommend them. Tom Blanton t-shirt, Black Rose Writing. They are available at one point. Let's see if I can find them. They were on our website here, but the link might have got pulled. I think if you go to, send me an email on that, and I will see if I can get you the link back up. But we do have some shirts still, and just send me an email, and I'll send you a direct link. And if you want to get a shirt, you can definitely get one. So we're 40 minutes in. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. If there's any last minute questions, let's get them in. But again, I really appreciate everyone stopping in, and all the authors who are going to watch this video later. I think these are really helpful. It's fun. We're working on going forward, being able to have a little even more interactive live sessions where possibly we can have some authors in the audio as well, and just a little more, maybe multiple guests, I'm able to talk and go over some of the stuff they've been doing. So thank you all again. I hope you all have a wonderful day. It's back to work for Black Rose Writing.